What's up, YouTube? In this video, we're going to go over my most profitable trade from last week, which was a $3,000 trade on Apple, going over some of the techniques that I used to make that profit. And so let's jump into that video where I'll cover some of the tactics that I use on a daily basis, not just for this trade. And I do plan to release more videos like this. So if you're interested in learning more about how to trade on a day-to-day basis or day trading, do consider giving me a follow and turn on the alert bell so you don't miss any content like this. And now let's get into it. So this is beautiful. This is perfect. I'm really happy I'm recording this. Hopefully, let me get this chart over. So right here on this chart, we have a perfect reversal candle forming off of a VWAP bounce right here. And we are about to see that break off of that VWAP bounce and head to the high of the day. I am in on this position even more. I'm adding to this position now. So we are in a full size position on this VWAP bounce. I'm already up about 2.8K on Apple today. So I'm gonna really just kind of hammer in on this position. The VWAP bounce is really key for this play. Vaxart, it looks like it wants to break out, but see, I'm making a good amount of money on Apple, and so I don't want to divert my attention too much. I think that's a really important thing for people to realize. But I will go look for some other positions just really quick, scan around, because if there is a really nice setup, I will potentially play. This isn't the best, so I'm not gonna potentially, have to divert my attention. But if there are similar positions like that I think could potentially do well, or things that are just looking really healthy, then I can easily take on those positions. Like this right here looks really good off first glance. We've got 3-minute candles there. 1 minute definitely looks pretty good. I think I'm reluctant to signal until it tests this, and so I won't. But again, we're watching the QQQ primarily for the bounce for Apple. Just let my community know my new average cost. Which is about 1.45. And so I'm breaking even still. But unfortunately, I'm not able to always signal all my exits and entries. And I was able to collect gains off of the top and re-enter. But the community is still there. This is a great position. I definitely think there's potential for a bounce on the QQQ, and so still continuing to hold this, even though it does, and to an average trader, this might look like it might break down. We do have it respecting support pretty well. It is not overbought any longer, and so just really hoping, I guess. And every time, actually, I shouldn't say hoping. I do think that this will bounce. I don't have hope. If this does go below, this zone right here, then I would think, this might curl over again. Watching the Qs, and I guess you probably can't see everything I'm doing. Get the Apple up here. But if the QQQ were to break down, that would be an indication for me on Apple. But again, Apple's bull flagging, and it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and hold my position, even though down about 3% on the open position I have. That's about $85. Oh no, that's about 1% now. So yeah, down about $85 on this open position. But again, I've made $2,000 today. I did have $3,000 earlier, so there's some drawdowns to the strategy. But as long as you get back in and you don't let this affect how you're trading, it's really just a game, honestly. And so again, you can see, look at this reversal candle here that I'm circling, and then if you look at this candle here, this is a doji, and this is also an indication that it's probably going to reverse. And really, again, the biggest thing for me when I'm trading this is to make sure that there's still strength in the overall broader market, because right now Apple has significant strength compared to even Microsoft. Microsoft is, I can show on this side, Microsoft is kind of floppy. It's trading pretty flat. Apple, on the other hand, has a lot of strength. There's a lot of higher highs, and it's respecting a lot of the support here. And so, again, you can see it's probably going to break out. I'm going to add to this position just a tiny bit here, make sure I can capture this move. And I will let the community know that I averaged in a little bit more. Alright, so in about 70 of these contracts on Apple, 146 strike for Friday expiration, and right now it's pretty much smooth sailing. I'm not really worried too much about the position itself. Going to be monitoring the QQQ, and as you can see, in recent trading in the last 10, 15, 20 minutes, they are shaping up very similarly, which is a great sign. We're on the 1 minute candles, and we're watching for the continuation to the high of the day. And I'm really liking Apple right now. So just focusing my capital there for the day trades. And that's really what it's all about. You can't get too distracted, especially when there's so much weakness all over the place. And you find something like Apple that we have now. I'm not going to really venture too far out and try to make something happen that's not there. There you go. I mean, that was perfect. That was a great example of like how many things are on my watch list, but like you just have to divert your attention and focus on what's going to happen, or what's happening, or what's happened in the recent past, right? So it's all about patterns and pattern recognition. So now we're rejecting, so I'll actually be trimming out just a little bit. That's just one of my rules. I like to capture some capital. I'm not able to really signal that to the community too often, unfortunately. So this is where I have to be kind of diligent on how I signal this. So right now I'm letting them know rejection below 146.90. So if we find weakness, below that point, so I'm just letting them know that this is just a thought. Trade update. Alright, so now I'm in about half the size that I was. I was able to capture about $600 on that. And so right now I am actually going to re-enter, and that might seem counterintuitive, but I am going to get in right here on this stall, this TTM squeeze, and I am waiting for that break over the recent high, and that is gonna be just below, and that's pretty hard to see, but the 147.21, and that's gonna be kind of our new breakout point because it's so close. If we get a push over that, then we would have, and if we get the push over the 23-cent mark, that would be a very strong indication for me that this is going to be a continued move. But I always have a backup plan, so that's the point of noting that, you know, if we fall below this range, and I can draw that in, if we fall below, you know, that area there, then this trade is not, it's not there. It's not ready for us to be in there. And so that's my whole philosophy behind this is if the trade's not there, you don't want to force it. So if we fall into this range, I'm not going to panic. But if we start falling below that area, you know, even down a little bit further to the 93 mark that I have drawn in on support, that's, you know, basically drawn in off of the recent low, this where the strength mostly was. If we fall below that and we're back in this range, you know, we don't want to be here. You know, we're looking at the strength on Apple here, and as long as Apple can hold that range, the sellers are going to have to give up eventually, and that's the whole point of, that's how you look at this. And so right now I'm about my average cost is it's about 1.55, which is just a little lower, or a little higher. Ugh. Which is just a little higher than it was. But I'm still positive. So, you know, I got back in, you know, I'm almost up 3K now for the day. Because I was able to capture those moves and not get too greedy. You know, I was okay with just getting a couple $100, but now I'm watching for that respecting, and it's not doing the best here. I might do another cup and handle actually. Now that I'm looking at it with the Qs are making another cup and handle, and see, that's the reason that we always want to have a confirmation. At least for me, in my style of trading, I always like to have that confirmation. You know, for me in my style of trading, I always like to have that confirmation from the Qs, especially with technology, and when things are really behaving similarly, that this is gonna be a trade that works out, right? And so right now I'm up about 5% on these. So and here we go. So just letting them know. Okay, so now we're waiting. I just had to let the community know. You know, now we're waiting for this to do a bounce off that 147.21. You know, if we hold that and we continue, I mean, this is going to be a nice breakout. This is going to be a very, very beautiful move. Yep, okay. So again, I do take profits as we go. Allowed about a fifth of my position size, which is about I had about 10,000. We're down to about well, that's kind of hard to read. So okay, so Q's rejecting, and so I'm gonna trim. I trimmed about 3/5. About half actually. So I'm actually gonna close this. So I close the position. Now I'm probably gonna have a little pain from that because I think it's gonna continue a bit. But it's had quite a day, so don't want to overtrade this. Okay, and then so now just watching for strength in the tech. Okay, so do see some more strength in Q. Apple too. So I will, just to satisfy, honestly, like kind of the urge to get in on a trade, is I like to enter a very small position size. So I'll trade, maybe like a half or even a fourth of the original position size. Just so I can kind of get the edge of not missing out kind of out. I mean, it's an emotion we all deal with, and so I try to be very, very diligent about not getting in on the same kind of like position size that I was in on my original entry. And this is the reason why, because now look, we're not continuing up like I maybe thought we were like 10 seconds ago, and I actually cut that position again. I didn't signal any of that to the community because it's just kind of a lot. But again, that's how I am actually evaluating things, and now it's curling over, so I'm glad I exited that position. There was a few things that told me that was probably going to happen. It could very well continue after this. But like the main things were the QQQ breaking down right here, and then after that, it was the RSIs, all these momentum indicators that I have. And I can go over how I read these in a later video. I just kind of, the main thing I'm looking at though is price action, and I think that's something that really confuses people. Like, these charts are like crazy looking, and I could have even hid most of this stuff to trade this. I wasn't really paying attention to those indicators, but those indicators are really nice to see when you're really trying to confirm like what's going on. And look, so I mean, Apple could definitely, it's gonna break out. So Apple might even break out again. But again, I made about $3,000. That's about 30% in total off of me capturing moves from Apple today. And the contract itself for Apple is up 120%. So had I held through the entire thing, yeah, I would have made 120%. But how do you make consistent profits off of these kind of moves? It's by evaluating your trades, and a lot of people will just put money in, and they won't. Sorry, one sec. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will just put money in, and they will hope that their position works out. Obviously, like I could have just held Apple from the very start, but had things turned against my trade, then we would have lost a lot more money than we gained, potentially. And so, I put out $10,000, I think the maximum position size for that was, and I made about $3.5K off of being able to read when the price is going to stall. I'm able to exit those positions, and that's why I use these contracts that have tight bid-ask spreads, so that I'm able to do that. Like right now, Apple's bid-ask spread is, let me double check. Yeah, it's just 2 cents. And so basically what that means, I'm giving up $2 every time I enter and exit a trade at market price. And so as long as the price of the stock is stalling, you can usually get filled for a good price. Now this is for advanced traders because, again, there's a chance that bid-ask spread's too loose and you get screwed over and the stock drops and the bid-ask spread changes. So you really have to know when the stock is stalling on its price, and you have to be able to get in and out. And the one thing too is the strategy doesn't always work out the way that you think it will, and you're gonna have some losing trades. The most important part is that you're actually cutting those positions before they get out of hand. And so right now, like, I'm watching the QQQ, it's breaking out, and then Apple's losing some of its strength. You can see Apple's not breaking out at the same time. That could just be that it's stalling though. So I have some small share position sizes that I did lose some money on today. Didn't really pay much attention to those, and so I lost about $500 on shares, and I also lost about $560 on my original NVDA position. I believe I sized into that position about $8,000. I think about 8 or 10 grand on the NVDA position. And with that, I ended up cutting that position. So let's take a look at NVIDIA. I did end up cutting NVIDIA, and I'm super happy I got out right about here on this breakdown on VWAP. It was just not that, and this is why one of my rules is when I'm trading, I make sure that when it breaks down off of VWAP, I exit that trade and I will look for a re-entry. This would have been a great VWAP bounce, but unfortunately it actually just ended up failing and broke off that VWAP, and I wanted to make sure that I got in at a price that was higher than that VWAP, because that would indicate to me that the buyers were strong. And so that's the reason that I exited. If I had not exited that position, I would have lost about 6 or 7 grand. Because these contracts, or let me double check on how much these contracts went down. So they're actually up still because of overnight trading. However, I think I got in when they were up quite a bit already on the day. So yeah, no, I would have lost a lot of money on NVIDIA had I not exited around this VWAP mark. For Apple, again, so now we have, right now, Microsoft is breaking out. Going to actually get in on this because we have a bull flag on the Qs. And so Microsoft, I just bought at the money Microsoft contracts, and I will let the community know that I got these. Microsoft. So these are 285 strikes. $286 breakout over high of day. A lot of strength in the Qs. So we are watching the QQQ on the side and waiting for the confirmation. I'm already up I'm already up on it. So average cost for me is about 620. Okay, so positioned in Microsoft, and I'm up about, I'm actually breaking even about right now. Got about $3,000 in, which is about a third of the position size I'd like to take. I will add to this position in a moment. I'm actually going to add now. Okay, so I'm in about a little bit less than half of the position I'd like. I might take a bigger size in a moment. Once it breaks over this 186 mark, and if we have strength in the Qs, then I will add to this. Okay, I added more. We have strength in the Q, and we have strength on Microsoft. So I added to this position. I'm in about a little bit less than my full size. Actually, I'm probably going to keep it here. I'm at about $9,500. I'm up about 10%, and so I'm going to keep the size the way it is. Try to be really disciplined about not going over that 10K. Because I know that I can produce that income off of 10K, and that's a relatively small size of my actual overall account, and so I'm not risking a ton. Right now, I am up pretty significantly, about 16%. So we have a little bit of a stall on Qs, which I'm watching. There's quite a bit of momentum still. It is dying out a little bit on the Qs. However, Microsoft still has that push up about 20%. That's about $2,000, almost $2,000, 25%, $2,000 now. I'm gonna start trimming out. I'm about halfway out. Okay. So I was able to capture $700 in realized gains. I'm up $700 on Microsoft, and then I have another $800 of unrealized, so I'm up $1,500 total. And I encourage everybody to think like that when they're trading, because you don't have that money until you take that money off the table, and that's why Scott and I always say that you need to take the money off the table. You need to collect your profits. And so, let me see if I can. Alright, so Microsoft is continuing its move. I am going to trim out some more here. Just because it's slowing down a bit. But still looking pretty decent. I'm keeping about half of the actual original position, so about $4,000 in total that I have up. Okay. So I am in about a fourth of my original position size, letting the position ride. That's about 10 contracts on the original position that I purchased. And I am now closing that position entirely. I see that there is a continuation candle on Qs, but it's all about not getting greedy here. So I sized up quite a bit. You know, I'm putting in quite a bit of money into these trades, and I don't want to give any money back to the market. And that's really the biggest thing about trading, is that you get greedy, you want more and more, and so you end up putting more money on the line here, and anything can happen. You know, like right now we're watching breakdown happen that I think is probably going to sustain itself. I don't think we're going to go much higher on Microsoft here today, especially with the negative momentum on the TTM coming in. We are still overbought in a lot of areas on the momentum indicators, and I could be totally wrong on that. Like my opinion could change in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. But the way that I trade and the way that I capture these moves is by reevaluating all of these moves. So, and again, now QQQ does look like it might still hold itself. That could be great. And then we have a reversal candle coming in on Microsoft. See, it's constantly reevaluating the price and everything that's going on with the price action. So we have level 2 data on the right side here. And what this is telling us is the amount of sales that have been made and how much they've been made for. So every time a transaction occurs, a sell order fulfillment is going to be marked in red, and a buy order fulfillment is going to be marked in green. And when you look down at the bottom at the level 2 data, this is showing you what the orders are in for and what the orders are being filled at. So when people are getting filled, you know, when they're buying at the bid or selling at the bid, you can see their orders if you look at BS, it's buy, and this is sells. And so you can see what people are buying and selling for on either side. This gives us a just indication of kind of where the price is heading. And so right now, I'm evaluating Microsoft. I'm looking at the tape, is what this is called. I'm seeing some buying action pick up on this support. Now the biggest thing here is we're gonna also look at the volume. So how much volume is coming in. This is gonna kind of go in tandem with the fulfillment of orders and the time in sales. So, you know, in times of higher volume, this tape is what we call this. This tape will go faster, and that'll indicate that there's going to be more volume for the period of time that we're looking at. And so right now we have a bull flag forming on Microsoft. I hope this helped. I hope that you took away some value out of this and that it helps you become a better trader, because I know that for me, I always just kind of put money in all kinds of different positions and hope for the best. But in reality, what you need to do is evaluate your positions as you go, and you can't let the market just determine where your money's at. You have to be able to enter and exit at points that are very disciplined and not emotional.